Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and for no apparent reason at all other than the fact that I really wanted to do this, I'm making a super tiny wedding cake today. So what I did was I took a 10-inch vanilla cake. This is the cake recipe that I always use. I'll leave it down in the description box below. And then I'm taking 3 different sets of cookie cutters, and I am cutting out circles. I want to say that this largest cake circle that I have here is around 3.5 to 4 inches. And I'm going to crumb coat it and fill it as usual. I'm just using some leftover buttercream that I have. And originally I was going to do this fully in buttercream, but I think I've decided to do this in fondant instead. It is tricky to control a really small cake, so you'll notice that I did not put 4 layers in this cake like I normally would. I just kept it as 2 layers. Since this won't have a very large cake base, I'm just putting a dowel in the center here so that everything stays nice and steady. And it also helps me while I'm crumb coating as well because I can hold on to that wooden dowel if I need any extra support. You'll notice here that my second tier is actually not that much smaller than my bottom tier. So in retrospect, I think I would have gone with a smaller cookie cutter there. I think you could do this by individually creating each layer and then stacking them afterwards like you normally would with a cake, but for expediency's sake, I just decided to do it all together. Once I was done crumb coating, I put it in the fridge overnight to make sure that it was super solidified, and then I took some gray fondant and I mixed it in with a little bit of white fondant. Now the key to creating marbled fondant is just to make sure that you don't over knead it together so it doesn't mix in completely, and just roll it out fairly soon after. I want to create a jagged edge, so you'll notice I'm just ripping apart that fondant and then I'm going to cut the bottom edge perfectly so it fits on the bottom of my cake. I'm also not fully covering all of this in fondant. A little bit of the buttercream is going to be exposed, and I'll show you what I'm going to be doing with that later. To adhere the fondant to the buttercream is really easy. If you're using Italian meringue buttercream, it's going to stick even after you left it in the fridge overnight. And to get that little piece of fondant to stick to the other side of the fondant, all you need is a little bit of water. You could steam your cake at this point, but it could get a little bit too steamy because it's such a small little cake. I want this cake to have a modern elegance to it. I don't want it to look too scary or ragged, so I am folding in some of those edges. Now I'm taking some rock candy, which you can find at your local cake store, and I'm pressing it into that buttercream that is exposed. You'll notice that I stuck with kind of a bluish grayish tone the whole way through with this cake, and then we're going to warm it up a little bit by adding some gold later. When I'm brushing on this gold, I'm being sure to press those rocks in and press the gold into those little candy rocks. If you do a sweeping motion instead, like you normally would when you paint, then you're going to end up with the rocks all over the place and they'll start to come off your cake. Today I am using a water-activated edible paint palette. I'm really directing a lot of the gold to the edges of the cake to really give it a nice modern flair and feel. Adding in some of these fault lines with a super thin brush and some edible gold paint. And you can do this any way you'd like, but I find the messier the better. I made these edible rice paper sails in another video and they keep extremely well. So you might think, wow, that was a long time ago, but they do keep super well and they don't go bad. And this was the perfect opportunity for me to use this in the cake. And they stab in so easily. I wanted to keep the florals on this cake looking really edgy and almost fabricy. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a piece of fondant, didn't use a cutter on it at all, and I'm just using this balling tool to get it nice and thin on the edges and make it kind of petal-like. Then I'm rolling it all up, and I'm going to use this particular rose to cover up the stick at the top. Play with the petals however you like to give it a nice realistic flair. Add on any additional flower work as you see fit. I think I ended up adding a couple leaves here and there that I still did in gray and just painted with a little bit of gold on the ends. And there you have it, a super tiny wedding cake that you could probably still actually get slices out of. It's not just like a fondant little cake topper. So let's get into the pricing for this. And I will say it is a little bit more complicated this time around because honestly, it is a lot of work still, even though the product that you end up with is quite small. I'd say you are using a little bit less materials than you would for a 6-inch, but honestly, it's probably the same amount of work that actually goes into this. But because of the small size, that's how I would price the cake. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading daily, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!